Hello, this is Mr. Cooper, and welcome to Bournemouth School's GCSE Revision Videocast.
Hello and welcome to this videocast. Before moving on to the particular topic in question, it's worth reminding ourselves of some exam tips. First of all, avoid using phrases like all Christians think and overgeneralizing. Rather than backing yourself into that corner, use phrases like some Christians may. Also, when using specific religious quotes and teachings, it's worth applying them directly to the topic in question. If you are merely listing religious quotes and teachings, you won't be looking at the higher grades. Rather, explain how they relate. To ensure you are linking them directly to the statement in question, use phrases like "this means that." Finally, a word of caution on the use of quotation marks. If you know the direct word-for-word quote, by all means use quotation marks. However, if you're paraphrasing, don't put the teaching in quotation marks, but it will still be relevant and get you credit. For example, saying something like, "Jesus suggested that you should love your neighbour," wouldn't be a direct quote, so don't use quotation marks. So, what will this video do? First of all, it will give you key topic headings on the particular unit we'll be looking at. Second of all, it will list a selection of relevant religious quotes and teachings. Finally, it will give you some sample exam questions, both AO1 and AO2, to practice. You must use this to help you learn, apply, and practice. This topic concerns religion and early life. One with lots of sub-branches, but lots of linking into the same few arguments. Some of the sub-branches you may need to know about will include, of course, abortion. Within that, the debate regarding sanctity versus quality of life. You will need to know about and be able to discuss the different possible areas as to when life begins, all the way from conception until birth. Another area is why children are seen as a blessing, both by religious and non-religious people. Knowing about the law on abortion, particularly in the UK, including Northern Ireland too. Discussing alternatives to abortion, including adoption, and the idea of ensoulment, or when the soul enters the body. Other topic headings might include pro-choice versus pro-life, or for and against abortion. These areas are crucial to the topic in terms of argument and discussion, the more evaluative side. Of course, you'll need to be able to incorporate religious attitudes to abortion. Looking at the rights of the mother, the father, and the embryo or fetus. Be able to incorporate within the pro-choice and pro-life debate different pressure groups and organisations. And, as it's such a topical subject, bringing in abortion in the news as well. Some Buddhist teachings that you may be able to apply to these various topics would include the idea of reduction of suffering, particularly for the mother. Most Buddhists would say that life begins at conception. That should be at conception. Being able to talk about Buddhists placing importance on the sanctity of life. Using the blind turtle story here, or the story of the blind turtle swimming in an ocean, sticking its head up through a golden hoop, essentially saying that life as a human is rare and should be cherished. The key notions of metta and karuna here, or compassion and kindness, can be applied in a number of different ways. Also, the central teaching of ahimsa, or non-violence against any living thing. The idea of the Noble Eightfold Path, particularly performing something with the right intention, or something that is selfless and compassionate. One of the 5 precepts, the Buddhist guidelines for living in society, includes I will avoid taking life. And finally, the idea of karma, both good and bad, affecting rebirth in the next life and ability to reach enlightenment, can be applied to various sub-branches as well. Some Christian teachings then. Of course, Christians do hold the sanctity of life, but in this case life is sacred and belongs to God. Roman Catholics would almost wholly agree that abortion is wrong, immoral, and in some cases would use terminology as strong as murder. Most recently, Pope Francis echoed this sentiment. Church of England tend to stick with the law of the land in the UK. However, many Christians would intuitively repel against the idea of abortion. One of the 10 Commandments is thou shalt not kill. This can be brought into the debate here. Of course, the idea of when life begins is crucial to this application. The key teaching from the book of Job, the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away, can be used. Or man made in the image of God. Baptists and other Protestant groups may well see abortion as moral under some circumstances, as a last resort and the least of all evils. For example, when the mother will die if an abortion is not performed. And of course, the statement that should not be used, the teaching that should not be used in every single question, but can be applied as love thy neighbour. Some other beliefs that you may wish to incorporate and apply would include humanism. Whilst not a religion, it certainly is a growing worldview, and humanists, again, almost wholly agree with the position of pro-choice. In Islam, the Sharia law would suggest that abortion is to be permitted, again, as a last resort or perhaps a necessary evil. There's a disagreement and a debate in Islam as to when the soul enters the body. Some would think conception, some 40 days, and some 120 days. You could also mention that Sikhism Sikhs believe that life begins at conception. Some sample exam questions then. AO1, explain the pro-choice stance on abortion. Or explain religious attitudes to when life begins. On the evaluative side, adoption is better than abortion. What do you think? Explain your opinion. Finally, the 6 marker, religion should not interfere in issues of life or death. That should be in. Again, to be able to incorporate religion and discuss the arguments for and against should get you 6 marks. Remember, all of this should be used in your revision, and you should learn, apply, and practice. Thanks very much for listening.